special guest at lunchtime, and it is Robert Walter. I don't know your middle name, Rob. Has anyone called you Robert lately?
Not for a very long time.
Not for a very long time. How are you anyway?
Very good, thanks, Pam. Great to be back.
Nice to have you here. I'm listening very closely to hear if you're going to say fish and chops or something like that.
No, the indoctrination's not that deep, so I still speak very South African, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah. Rob Walter, coach of the white ball team, South Africa, Proteas men's. All those out there will be saying, okay, where's this guy come from? What's his path? And I suppose we'd leave it to you to say, talk us through the journey. When we first certainly saw you with the team, I used to hang out with you and see and kind of hear from you. You were trainer in the side. So come on in.
I suppose the sort of brief synopsis of it is wherever I've gone, I've been very fortunate enough that the coaching staff have given me the opportunity to be involved in coaching of the game. So even back to the days, I remember when I first started with Peter Kirsten, there were only 2 staff members, himself and myself. So I suppose by default, I got involved with the cricket side of things and was able to connect with players. So I've always had a deep love for coaching and cricket. And then with Dave Nosworthy at the Titans, a similar thing. And then fortunately enough, at the national level with Mickey at the start, and then with Corey, and then with Gary, they all allowed me to be involved in the cricket side of things. And it sort of just garnered my love for coaching, love for cricket, and love for connecting with people, really. And then it went to be the head coach of the Titans, and then to New Zealand to coach 2 provincial sides there, and then make my way back. So
2 provincial sides. You have to give names. You have to make sure that you know.
Started in the very deep south of New Zealand with Otago for 5 seasons, and then just finished the 2nd season with Central Districts before coming.
And how's it all gone? How's the journey gone? How are you finding it? What do you find are the challenges? What is it that you enjoy particularly?
I mean, to be honest, it's been an amazing journey for me. Sort of never thought I'd be sitting in this seat, first of all, but to think that cricket and coaching would take me, firstly into the South African setup and then down to New Zealand and then all the way back. It really has been an amazing journey. Been very blessed, to be honest. So, but I've really loved it. It's been very challenging at times and obviously heartwarming at times, and certainly very much more good memories than bad.
I suppose what I'd say is the job becomes vacant, you apply. Why? I say that because the man next to you over there, and I don't know if he's going to agree with me or not, many a time he's wanting to tinker and sort out and help guys with stuff, but not necessarily wanting to take on X job over there because of its demand. So what about you?
I guess, when you start out as a coach and a domestic coach, you always have your eyes set on doing an international side at some point. And then, with the South African job coming up as an opportunity, it speaks to my heart, being born here and being part of South African cricket for many, many years, to be able to come back and hopefully influence the team positively. That was a no-brainer, really.
Am I right, Shaun, to say for some it's not the way to go? You want to help, but you don't necessarily want it. The crown on your head, as it were.
I think it's time consuming, isn't it? So it's an all-in kind of job. It's not kind of thing you can switch on and switch off. As commentators, we can kind of come here, do our job, and then switch off for a week or 2. As a coach, you have sleepless nights about how am I going to get that player to the next goal, or how am I going to get the team in a frame of mind where they need to be in order to be competitive. So it's a very much a fully intensive, fully engaged, full-time job, and that then lies the challenge. Obviously it's slightly different. And how will your relationship work with obviously Shukri Conrad and the test team? Because we have discussions up here about players resting, for example. Like Janssen doesn't play, he has to rest, and that has to be a bit of a negotiation between the 2 of you.
Yeah.
How will that relationship work going forward?
Yeah, look, I get on great with Shooks. I really enjoy him. We've sort of connected over cricket for a very long time, and always enjoyed his view on the game and the way he sees the game. So I've just enjoyed the time that I've spent just in the last couple of weeks, and then obviously when he was the caretaker coach for the England series. I think we see things very similarly. Obviously our sort of way to get there is different. His style is different to mine. And there is a juggling act, in moving forward around managing players. I think we are, heading deeper and deeper into a situation where guys are going to be busy a hell of a lot of the time. The leagues are popping up everywhere. The demand for our cricketers in the leagues is very real. And so, we have to make sure that we're doing right by the players. Ultimately, we want them to be able to perform at 100 whenever they do put on the jersey. And so to take care of all the nitty-gritty around that to make sure that that's possible is obviously our job. It's something we need to do well.
And talking about timing, I mean, it's a bit of a challenge. I mean, the World Cup's coming around quickly, isn't it? I mean, that's your first big assignment. Do you feel like you've got enough time to implement your ideas, your style of how you want to play in combination with the two different captains that you're going to work with, Temba and Aiden Markham?
Yeah, I think there's sort of never a perfect time, in coaching. It's sort of the opportunities arrive when they arrive. Look, fundamentally, I think the team is a good team. So there's a little bit of work to take it to the next level, and whether there is or isn't enough time, I guess you'll only find out as you move forward. But the foundations and the basic operating of the team is very sound, I believe. So I don't think we're far off. It's just a lot of work ahead.
Is it you who's picked this squad?
Yeah, myself, and obviously a lot of input from Shukri, who's been at the ground level for a very long time and obviously has a far greater insight on some of these than myself, who's just followed from afar really, and then Enoch as the third person involved, and then the two skippers.
So how is it going to work with regard to selection? Is it that way in that you guys will sort of form some sort of committee, as in who should be in the squads? And then what you decide who the 11 are, as he's doing for the test matches?
Pretty much, yeah. That's how we're going to operate for now, until if it changes or is altered in any way. But for now, that's it. The three of us and the captain is conversing around this overall squad, and then the captain and the coach for the match day 11.
And how much Temba relinquishes the T20 captaincy, and he's not in that squad, and he's doing one day and tests, and Aiden, how much input do you have with that in terms of captains and who is captain and so forth?
The captaincy is very much left up to me to make, so yeah.
Okay, and nice.
And just on that, I mean, the convener of selectors, Victor Mpitsang, is no longer convener.
Yeah.
When will that role be fulfilled again, or is it not going to?
Might not. Yeah, that's the point. I think you're saying if it changes, it changes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But for now, I mean, they overhauled everything and said no selectors, and the coach will select, and they'll decide who's playing. And what it's done, I guess, is it's made it very clear who is in charge of who plays. Because I think even with Victor in the role, it was a case of selecting a squad and not up to them to select the team. And so, yeah, it's up to the coaches.
And then in following on from that, so will you be looked to allocating scouts, for example, to have a look and give you feedback? Because as in your job, you often will be outside the country and won't be able to follow what's going on domestically. Would that be something that you would steer towards?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think there's still, there are definitely good people on the ground. Mali Maketa has been involved for a long time. So there are guys watching the game a lot. And as I said, Shukri has been involved at that level for a fair bit of time. So as we sort of tighten up exactly what it's going to look like, there'll be no doubt there'll be people who will rest on from a domestic point of view. Over the last 10 days, I've connected with almost every provincial coach to get their thoughts on who they feel in the country are the strongest players, both in their team but beyond as well. So just to get an overall picture, ultimately the sort of the common names keep popping up. So,
and from a game plan and way you'd like to see South Africa play, obviously it's going to take time for your blueprint and whoever the captain of the team is. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to see from the South Africans moving forward? I mean, you would have monitored how they've gone, but is there anything you'd like to see them do a lot differently, or is it more of the same and just trying to polish that up?
Yeah, not a lot differently. I think the series against England was kind of probably a little window into how we want to move to play the game. I think, the buzzword in all formats really is a more aggressive type mindset, and that's all fair enough, but if it was just that easy, you just decide and go do it. But there's obviously a depth to it. I think for me it's in making a decision to play more aggressively and take the game on for each individual. What does that actually look like? Still identifying that there's always going to be key moments in the game that you need to win in order to win the game at the end. And so it's really being smart with our decision making, but once we've identified, the situation and the context of the game, what's our most aggressive option that each individual can take there.
With regard to the schedule, there's this ICC Super League and the very real possibility of qualification for the World Cup. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me if you've wrapped your head around that. The fact that South Africa's not on there is the reason for having to qualify. How much discussion? What have you discussed?
Look, I mean, for us it's pretty simple really, in that we've got 2 games against the Dutch that we need to win, and that certainly doesn't secure things, but it gets us most of the way there. Obviously the series in New Zealand, so hopefully my former counterparts can make sure they take care of business against Sri Lanka. So if we take care of our business and hopefully things fall the way that they should, then we've got that direct qualification. If it doesn't happen and that doesn't fall our way, then obviously that qualifying tournament in Zimbabwe is a big one for us. But in truth, there is opportunity there in terms of another 5 to 6 one-day internationals before the World Cup, and in a winter that is fairly spare in terms of opportunities.
Yeah, it's important to point out that the 3 one-day internationals against the West Indies don't count towards the ICC Super League, and it's those 2, the remainder of this series, which was curtailed due to Omicron. Was it Omicron?
Yeah.
It was Omicron, yeah?
One of the variants.
Yeah, one of the variants of COVID-19. Okay.
It might also be safe to say that you're going to be pretty concerned about the weather for those 2 games.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't really afford 2 rained-out matches.
I don't think one, to be honest.
Yeah?
So rain-out game certainly doesn't help us. So we need 2 full games, or 2 completed games.
You say I don't think one, but you've obviously done all the maths and everything. Is that just sort of code for we can't afford any?
No, I think if Sri Lanka lose 3-0, then one might be enough. So to the Black Caps. So
you think?
Yeah.
That's 1 point ahead. So you get 10 points for a win.
Yeah.
So if Sri Lanka win both, and also your overrate needs to be spot on.
I say because we can't lose another point through overrate. So I don't want to say we're definitely through because
I just wasn't sure about the I think. You said it twice in 2 sentences, and I'm going, well, if you think, then we're in trouble, all of us,
No, it's on the screen there.
Right, okay. Here's something that's been knocking about the wires a little bit. Faf du Plessis, your great mate. Tell me about him and what you've been discussing.
Well, you'd have to ask Faf if we're great mates, but I've certainly worked with him for a long time. No, I've had a conversation, there's no secrets. I've had a conversation with Faf to investigate the possibility of him coming to play again. There's definitely interest on certainly our part, of course, and his. It's just about managing the period that leads up until the World Cup.
And is this... It's not ODI cricket, is it? It's just 2020
cricket.
cricket. Okay, and you feel... Is that because you feel... Well, tell me what it is. Why do you feel he should be back in or could be back in?
I mean, look, at T20 cricket, if you look over the last couple of years from a performance point of view, in almost all the leagues, you'll see Faf's name in the top 3 batting. Year in, year out, he's a top quality T20 player. So from my point of view, why wouldn't you want someone like that available to play for you?
Okay,
the only question I'd throw at it is the next World Cup, T20 World Cup, when would that... That's in
next year.
US. Is it next year?
Next year, yeah.
Wow, as quickly as that. I actually thought it was 2 years on. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Because I was thinking with longevity, if the World Cup was 2 years on, then do you want to still tinker with a guy as old as Faf? Okay, it makes more sense that it's happening quicker.
Yeah, okay. And one last question I have for you is, what is Rob Walter's style of coaching, by the way? I don't go anywhere else.
Let's stick to coaching.
Let's stick there.
I definitely don't have a dancing style. So from a coaching point of view, I think that if you had to ask anyone about my coaching, it would be that certainly a collaborative coach. I like the inputs of different people. I like people to feel like they've been part of making whatever decision that we make, ultimately knowing that I carry the can at the end of it, so I've got to make the final decision. And then really, I just see my job along with the staff is sole responsibility to create the best environment for players to play and grow in, so they're ultimately delivering their best performance. So how you get there is different for different teams, and I guess that's the goal really, is to figure out what that is and what the environment requires. But I suppose in a nutshell, that would be it.
With regard to how you might conduct yourself and how you might do things, tell me how much of the info you might have gleaned in the times you were in change rooms as trainer or whatever capacity and watched others operate you're going to use.
100%. I mean, again, fortunately enough, through all the different circles, I've had access to, 20 plus different coaches, really. So I think when you have a love for coaching, you're always watching coaching and trying to figure out what is best practice, what are the things that work, don't work, what speaks to you as a coach and your values from a coaching point of view. And so you're always picking little bits along the way to form your overall picture of yourself, really.
JP Duminy comes in as your batting coach. Who's the rest of your squad going to be? Is there any names you can give us?
Yeah.
Decisions been made?
Wandile Guavo is going to be our fielding coach for the series against the West Indies and the Dutch, and Rory Kleinveld's going to take care of the bowling.
Those are not permanent appointments?
Those are not permanent.
And is it you who will then decide on who you would like, for instance, for those roles permanently, or do those get given to you?
No, that'll be my decision to make it.
You've already hit a few people up, or what?
A few people have hit me up, and I've chatted to a few people. But no, I think it's at the end of the day, especially with the guys that are going to take care of the series in front, is I've heard really good things about them and the work that they do. And so for me, it's just an opportunity to connect with them. It's not whether guys are good or bad coaches. It's really about chemistry and synergy in terms of the way you operate as a team. I think having a staff that is like-minded but still has the ability to challenge each other is the way you want to be set up. So it's just about figuring out who those people are.
Okay, well, look, all the best to you. It is the code that has cups. That's the one you've taken. White ball. Everyone's chasing a cup.
Yeah.
And they're saying, Rob, bring it home. And if you do bring it home, they won't say Rob brought it home. They'll say Aiden brought it home or Temba brought it home, Sometimes, I guess, it is quite thankless as a job, because when things don't go well, you must front up, and when they do, players take the credit, so to speak.
That's the job. It's always been like that, always will be. And to be fair, the players are the ones doing the hard yards out there and having to get it all done. So we'll just do our best in the background to make sure that happens.
Yeah, all the best with that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, right. New coach, Rob Walter.